welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to be talking about my December wrap-up. So, delayed on this wrap-up, sorry about that. Just had a lot of videos to get out towards the end of December and the beginning of January, but we're here now and we're going to talk about some things that I read in December. I only listened to audiobooks in December. I read like half a physical book. I spent all of my energy and focus trying to make Christmas and December like the best month of the year, and I think that I succeeded. I absolutely love Christmas time, and I just really decided to pour my heart and soul and my energy and my mind there to just keep myself peaceful and calm and give me something really positive to focus on. We didn't go on vacation this year, so we had a little bit of extra funding to spend on decor and presents for people, and I made presents and I baked, and it was so fun. I had a fabulous Christmas. I'm having slight Christmas withdrawal. Hit me up if you're feeling the same way. But because of that, I just didn't physically read very much. I was very tired before I went to sleep, which is when I do a lot of my reading, and I wasn't reading during the day. So most of this was audiobooks. I also only listened to holiday and Christmas themed audiobooks. So if that's not your jam, or if you're like totally over Christmas, this isn't the video for you, that is what I did. So we're gonna talk about the audiobooks I listened to. So I started out the month doing 'Tis the Season-a-thon, which is a Christmas themed readathon that I participate in every year from Heather over at Bookables. Christmas is like my favorite thing ever, so of course I would do a Christmassy themed readathon. So for that I listened to 3 audiobooks. Well, the first audiobook that I listened to was our group book, which also happened to be the group book for my book club that I participated in, and that was In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. I don't own any of these audiobooks, so I'm just gonna be like putting them up here for you. This is an adult Christmas romance story, and it's about a girl. She gets stuck in like a time loop where she repeats kind of the same days over again. It's got a little bit of like a Groundhog Day feel to it, but not perfectly. It's kind of like you go back and forth on different days, and if she does certain things, different things happen. So it's got a slight like magical surrealism element, and it's about our main character that is like kind of stuck in a no-win job. I think she had just broken up with her boyfriend. She's just feeling very unhappy, and she's spending Christmas at her family and friends' cabin in snowy Utah, and on the way there to the universe she's just like, show me what'll make me happy, and then this kind of time loop thing presents itself, and there is a lot to do with like childhood families and friends, and there's romance, there's a little bit of sexy times in this book. I did enjoy it. I thought the narrator, which I'll list all the narrators down here, did a really good job, and I thought it was really fun. There was like a lot of festive elements to it. Time loopy thing kind of never like fully made sense, but that's kind of typical for a Christmas like contemporary read, and I did really enjoy it. I originally was planning on giving it 4 stars, but I wound up knocking it down to 3.5, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in the video. Yeah, so I really enjoyed it. It was festive, it was fun. It was my first Christina Lauren book. So I'll be checking out more of their reads, the author duo. They do a lot of contemporary, so I'll be checking them out sometime in the near future, but if you like holiday Christmas reads, I would put this one on your list. Then I listened to One Way or Another by Kara McDonald. This one I just randomly picked up because it was also new this year, so it was In a Holidays. It's a new Christmassy YA romance, and it also has a magical element. So this was basically a double timeline book. So a girl has a choice between spending Christmas with like her longtime best friend that she's had a crush on for forever, and his family, and I think his girlfriend or something like that, and his family, and kind of explaining how she feels about him. Or she has a choice to go and spend Christmas with her mother in New York, where she's always wanted to go visit and kind of like change her life. And she winds up getting to do both, and you're kind of bouncing back and forth between the two timelines. Again, that part doesn't entirely get explained in the book, so you kind of just have to go with it. This one I didn't like as much as In a Holidays. The main character is dealing with a lot of anxiety and kind of like trying to navigate her methods for figuring that out. So if you're somebody that has chronic anxiety or you feel anxious easily, I would personally stay away from this one. And I'm kind of in the middle. I can be overly anxious or I can be not anxious at all. It kind of depends on like honestly how well I'm taking care of myself. This one made me feel kind of anxious and she was just very stressed out and overthinking everything, and just the way that it was written kind of like I don't know, it was just a little bit intense. It had a cute romance in it. It wasn't my favorite like overall plot and story, so I ended up giving this one 3 stars. Again, it was filled with like festive elements and things. I just found the characters in general were slightly less likable than other stories I've read. So yeah, it was a solid 3 star. Then I listened to Mind the Gap, Dash and Lily. This is book 3 of Dash and Lily's Book of Dares. This is a trilogy by Rachel Cohn and David Levithan. One of my all-time favorite like YA or just Christmassy reads in general. There's a show on Netflix about the first book. So the first book is following basically 2 teens in New York, and they're in the Strand, which is a really huge bookstore, and our lead female character leaves a notebook with like kind of like a scavenger hunt request on it, and thankfully a teenage boy finds it and starts to complete this request and then gives one to her, and they kind of go back and forth, and it's all set at Christmas time, and she is a very big Christmas enthusiast and he is a very big like Scroogey humbug, and they don't really meet in person, they don't talk on text or anything, they just talk through the notebook. Very, very sweet. And then this is the 3rd book in the series. I don't want to really give anything away, but it's set in London, which I really liked. So we're getting some London Christmas traditions and London food and things like that. And then you're also following a relationship in here. It was enjoyable. I liked the first book the best. It's like a 4.5 star. Second book's more of like a 3.5 star. And this one's kind of back up to like a 3.5 or 4 star. It's my second favorite. So I really enjoyed the London aspect of it. I think it's going to make a really good premise to start the TV show off on, so we'll just have to see. So again, I wound up giving this one, I think I'm settling with 3.5 stars because of something else that I read later in the month, which I'll talk about in just a second. So solid, festive, Christmassy fun read. Then I read the Parisian Christmas Bake Off. I actually read this one second to last. We're gonna put it in here for a particular reason. This is an adult Christmassy romance about our lead character who is a little bit lost, and people sign her up to go on this baking competition in Paris. So it has a little bit of like, what do you call it, Great British Bake Off vibes to it. She goes there and there's like a really like mean instructor, and he's really hard on everyone, and he has like a brother, and there's just like all these things happen, and she's kind of like discovering herself and her baking style and what she wants to do with her life. All of those things are really great. It was very fun. It was very festive. If you love Christmassy reads, then add this one to your list. If you don't really care about them, I wouldn't like bother adding it. It wasn't like an overly amazing contemporary, but it was really enjoyable and just kind of something to listen to while I was baking. So I like books about baking and things like that. But the book I listened to before this one that kind of changed my overall ratings for everything was the 12 Dates of Christmas, and this was my favorite book of the month. It was a solid 5 stars. This was also a Christmas romance contemporary, and I loved it so incredibly much that it made the other ones that I read knocked down like half a star, because I thought that I was being harsh on them and I just wasn't in a contemporary mood. And then I read this one and I could have immediately reread it and picked up anything else that was like it. This is about our lead character, Kate. She's 34 and she is single. This one is also set in London, or definitely in England. She signs up for this like 12 Dates of Christmas program, which is basically like a dating service that presets up 12 dates during Christmas time with strangers, but they're vetted out so they're like the appropriate age for you, all of that kind of jazz. And they try really hard to make sure there's not like bad people, but they set everything up. You pay in advance so that when you're on the day, you don't actually have to pay for anything. So that kind of pressure is taken off. And then you have other dates going, so you don't have pressure to like have another date. It's kind of like just a blind date system. And so they're really incredibly fun. They have like a gingerbread making competition, and I think that they go ice skating in one, and then there's like a Christmas tree decorating, and it's all extremely festive and very fun. Kate is a baker, and her best friend Matt owns a coffee shop called the Partridge Cafe. So it's just all very Christmassy and wintry. There is some really great friendships in here and family, and the characters are so well written. I think this is a debut novel. It was just so warm and charming, read by one of my favorite narrators, Elizabeth Nolden. An amazing job, and it was just so wonderful. I literally didn't want it to end. I was just enjoying it so much. I love books where they have to go on like multiple dates with different people. Like 10 Blind Dates was one of my favorite books last year and things like that. And I just thought it was so fun because you get to meet all these different characters and you kind of fall for the different guys that she's meeting, and then different circumstances happen and you don't know who she's gonna pick, but you kind of do, and it was so great. I really loved it. Solid 5-star read for me. And it is my new favorite Christmas read, like contemporary Christmas read of all time. And then because of that one, I read the Parisian Bake Off. And then I also picked up One Day in December because I've heard amazing things about this somewhat Christmassy romance. It's basically just a contemporary romance, but it's very like heavily set in the winter, but it's set over a 10-year period. So you're getting a lot of different time periods and life periods. But basically this is about our main character, Lori, and she's a little bit of a skeptic when it comes to love at first sight, but one day she's like about to get on a bus and she sees a man like on the platform, and she just has this overwhelming feeling that she needs to meet him, and the bus basically takes off, the guy doesn't get on, and she never sees him again, but she keeps thinking about him and talking about him. And then a year later she finds him again and he is dating her best friend, and he remembers her too, and they both kind of just keep quiet even though they both have these really intense feelings, like romantic feelings for each other based on kind of like love at first sight. And then you just kind of follow them throughout the years, navigating everything with him and her friend's relationship, her dating other guys, and like a whole bunch of different things happen. So I enjoyed this. Had a lot more drama in it than what I was wanting, and just kind of some unnecessary aspects. I wasn't super thrilled with the outcome and the ending and where things kind of went going. You're kind of just following a journey as they're both kind of like growing up and trying to figure out what their lives are going to look like. Not my favorite. This was a 3.5 star, even though it was really well written, and I understand why a lot of people give it 5 stars. This one just didn't quite do it for me. I'm more of like I like happy feel-good books when it comes to my contemporary, especially like around the holiday season. So there was like a lot more drama in this than what I would normally like. It was still like really well written, and I know a lot of people love this one. And I am glad that I read it. So those are all the things I listened to for December. Very festive, very fun. I'm really glad I got a lot of really good reads in. Let me know what you guys read last month down below in the comments, and what you're reading for January, and I'll see you next time on The Bright Side. Bye!